do the
Sure.
introduction. It's good to see you all here this evening. Thank you for joining us for the third installment of the Writing Generation series this fall. We're delighted to welcome both new and returning people who are coming to the series. This is a series that is being co-sponsored by the Santa Fe Community College Library and Creative Writing departments. I'm Val Nye, the Library Director at SFCC, and I am so pleased to be hosting this with Austin Eichelberger from our Creative Writing department. For those of you who are new to our series, here's what you can expect. One Wednesday each month, and that would be this Wednesday, we host a reading by an author, and then that is followed by a writing session the following Wednesday, led by the same author. The second session in the series is designed to provide a space for creative exploration with guided prompts that help you dive deeper into the writing process. With that in mind, we would love to invite everyone back next week. So it's going to be Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Since you all have received this Zoom link, you will be receiving the Zoom link for next week as well. And Kasia Merrill will be reading this evening and will be leading us next Wednesday as well. So now I'd like to pass things over to Austin Eichelberger, who will share more information about the creative writing program at SFCC and introduce our featured reader. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We're so happy to have you. Austin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This creative session is brought to you by the Santa Fe Community College Library and Creative Writing Program. We are thrilled to have you join us tonight for this special reading event, and we hope you will come back to celebrate the power of words and storytelling at our future events. Tonight's gathering is an invitation to those who have passion for the written word. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a writer, whether you'd like to craft compelling fiction, pen evocative poetry, or explore the world of nonfiction, SFCC is awaiting your arrival. In our program, students can earn a certificate or an associate's degree in English language creative writing. The Santa Fe Community College Creative Writing Program nurtures aspiring writers, providing them with the tools, guidance, and inspiration to take their creative endeavors to new heights. We believe that writing is not only a useful and practical skill, but an art form that has the potential to transform lives and connect people across time and space. SFCC's creative writing program is focused on your development as a writer, a reader, and a member of a creative community. Our faculty are published authors and professional editors, and our course offerings include a multi-genre workshop and an internship with the Santa Fe Literary Review, SFCC's in-print literary journal, which actually just came out. If you're in Santa Fe, go to the Santa Fe Public Library and pick up a copy. Related degree and certificate requirements include opportunities to intern with local magazines, newspapers, and publishing houses, to explore the world of book arts, and hone screenwriting skills. Students work closely with professors and peers to develop, revise, and publish creative and academic writing in a range of genres and formats. Upon completion, you'll have gained the skills and experience to submit a manuscript for publication, pursue a career in editing, or continue your studies in creative writing. You can also now complete the entire program online. Please see the chat for links to our program website, where you can see our course offerings for spring 2024, explore the program requirements, find information about the Santa Fe Literary Review, and about the Kate Besser Awards, SFCC's very own writing awards. Excuse me. For those of you considering your own creative writing journey, we encourage you to ask any questions you have about the program, especially of me. Whether you're an experienced writer looking to take a single course or a complete novice ready to explore your creative potential, we have classes and resources for you. In Santa Fe Community College's creative writing program, we believe that everyone has a story and every story is worth sharing. Tell us yours. And I also want to say, I will be teaching some creative writing come spring. And so please come and join me, especially if you'd like what we have to say. And here, just so you all can see, not to distract, but here's our new issue of the Santa Fe Literary Review. It's beautiful. Submit to us. Our next submission deadline is November 1st. Okay, now for why we're really here, the special portion of tonight. Kasia Merrill is a fiction writer based in Maryland. She holds a BFA from Pratt Institute and an MFA from the Institute of American Indian Arts. Her work has appeared in Fiction International, Quarter After Eight, Breadcrumbs Mag, the Ekphrasis Review, Salamander Magazine, and the Appalachian Review. And her stories have been finalists for the GRITLit, Cutbank, New Millennium Writings, and Salamander Magazine fiction competitions. She has received support from the Peter Bullough Foundation, Disquiet International, and the Kenyon Writers Workshop, for which she was a Peter Taylor Fellow. She is currently at work on her first novel, and we have her here with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming Kasia.
Thank you, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much, Austin, for inviting me. This evening, I'll be reading a short story I wrote. It was the one that was published in Salamander Magazine, which Austin mentioned. It was also a finalist for 3 short story competitions. It's called Optical. A sting, a swell, a white light. Easy, Dr. Gray says, patting my arm. Let them adjust. Warm tears bury their bodies in the pits of my ears. White floods the room, drowns everything. My lashes fight to pull the world in. The bleached landscape sharpens into the curves of Dr. Gray's features. Before, her wide face reminded me of an empty plain, but through the lenses, her lips are dewy, tucked into the slopes of her cheekbones. Same features, polished into a frightening perfection. You can't prepare for beauty after not seeing it for a long time. It's a shock to the system. It's what happens when we fall in love, why we stumble around and forget to feed the cat. Our brains are catching up with the new way the world exists. Do things look better? Dr. Gray asks. The clinic's cabinets are pinched in colors. The overhead lights cast delicate webs. Each time I blink, a headache pulses like a fat fist behind my forehead. I can feel myself crying. Sorry, I say, wiping my cheeks. It's beautiful. Great. Dr. Gray snaps off the light. Shadows flit like static in the darkened room. Sit here while your eyes adjust to the lenses. Welcome to your new life. It was a sweaty spring morning when I first learned of Optical. I was riding the downtown bus to my job in an insurance sales office. Across the aisle was an ad. In it, an aging pop star tossed a mirror over her shoulder. Don't optimize how you look, the ad said. Optimize how you see. I thought, what the hell does that mean? But I knew. I'd tried all the tricks the counselors and self-help cult leaders recommended. I cataloged the colors in a room. I paused to breathe. I made lists of what sparked my joy. None of it worked. Every sight ate my heart. Each blink felt like a stone ripping through my insides. The person I loved was still dead. But a surgery to change how I saw the world? Now that could work. Maybe then it'd be easier to get up and put my feet on the floor. I'd toss out that yellow bottle of sleeping pills I'd been gathering in my nightstand. I'd take up yoga and stop thinking about what came after and enjoy what I had. I called my work that day to say I was sick and got off at the next stop. In a windowless room, I answered questions from a fresh-faced scientist. He said the lenses were in the trial stage and that if I was approved and signed a waiver, I'd get the surgery for free. Low risk, high reward, he added. Why are you interested in the lenses? I had an answer prepared. I want to see the world's potential. I'd practice saying it while I walked from the bus stop. The world's potential. I even tried stressing different words. The world's potential. The world's potential. What I actually said to him was, I want to see something worth loving again. The interviewer set down his pencil, then picked it up. The eraser left pieces of itself behind as he wrote, then rewrote my answer. Later, Dr. Gray, with pale outstretched hands, said it was simple. We take the optimized lens and embed it into your eye, she said. Any questions? I thought about what questions my sister would ask. Are there any side effects? Minimal, Dr. Gray said. What are they? I waited as Dr. Gray crossed the room, dropped flakes into the fish tank in the corner. If there were any fish inside, they were hiding. Well, people see danger and sadness for a reason, Dr. Gray said. She brushed her hands together, returned to her seat. You won't see the world as it actually is. I looked at the fish tank. There were no fish, but the food was gone. I'm fine with that, I said. After the surgery is finished, I wait for my sister outside the clinic, my new eyes tender. Clipped roses shimmer with dew in the warm breath of the sun. A dog walker shoots me a smile that unbuttons my heart. Across the street, a man in a wheelchair lights a cigarette. The ember burns gold. A woman steps from a car and approaches me. She is smiling, of course. Everyone since the surgery is smiling. A person can interpret a smile out of any style of lips. A grimace and a snarl have the same shape of teeth. How do we know which one is which? And? The woman asks, as if we're stranded in the middle of a sentence. It takes me a moment to recognize my own sister. I smash my nose into her shoulder to breathe her in. She pats me hesitantly. We have never been the kind of family in which members breathe one another in. Instead, we've spent most of our lives trying to exhale one another out. How did it go? She asks. You look like an angel, I say. So it worked. As we walk to the car, I gasp at the pink sky. You look weird, Sheila says. I've never seen beauty like this, I say. Sheila raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. I've never seen you smile this much, our friend Ivy says at a local bar. You look good. You look demented, Sheila says, tucking her chin into her palm. It's like you're high on Molly. Your pupils are huge. So, I say. I can't stand high people, Sheila says. You can't stand anyone, I say. What do we look like, Ivy says. Are your eyes like an Instagram filter or something? She poses, her full lips gathered into a pink tulip. Sort of, I say. Those filters fuck with our perception of ourselves, Sheila says, taking a sip of her beer. After my husband died, counselors told me my family was full of depressives. My mother was depressed, my father was depressed, my sister was depressed, and her attitude pulled me down. But Sheila was the only person I ever had who made sense to me. When the lists and the breathing and the color cataloging made me feel like shit, Sheila said that was because things were shitty. The world was shitty. Sometimes hearing that helped me more than anything. But not anymore. Now with these lenses, I can see the world's beauty. The cluster of golden bubbles itching up the beer glass. The string of shiny faces around the bar. The silk of the dark curls on the bartender. The rhythm of his jaw as he turns. So familiar. Are you listening? Hello? Sheila waves her hand in my face. I bat her away. What? What are you going to do if you hear something ugly? She asks. Why would I hear something ugly? Maybe someone screams at you. Maybe you hear a murder. What will you do? I'll deal with it, I say, looking for the bartender over her shoulder. Are you going to get surgery on your ears next? Sheila asks. Sheila, it was a small-scale surgery, just a pair of lenses. Stop being such a downer, Ivy says, elbowing my sister. Can I get you anything else? A voice asks behind me. I turn on my stool to see that the bartender is not just beautiful. He is the most beautiful person I've ever seen. My husband. An exact copy of my husband. The thick wave of hair, the top brown skin of his face, the dark eyes, the lips I've kissed, the nose I've sucked, the crescent scar that halves the left eyebrow. I grip the bar as I stare at him. Sorry, he says. I didn't mean to scare you. Sheila's hand cups my elbow. Hey, take a breath. Are you okay? I keep blinking, both wanting this man to be my husband and not, because he can't possibly be my husband, because my husband is dead. Suddenly, my eyes feel cold and damp. Hey, Sheila is saying. Is it your eyes? I'm fine, I snap, pushing Sheila away and running to the bathroom. I wet a paper towel and press it to my forehead, then glance into the mirror. My bottom lids are etched in red, blood rimming my eyelashes. I soak the blood up with the paper towel. The last time I saw my husband alive, we were touring an apartment. The walls echoed under his knocks. The faucets squealed. He knelt in front of the empty refrigerator, cast pale in the icy light. What do we think? He asked me. Do we like it? I replied. We're not sure, he said. his sneaker scuffing a dent in the hardwood floor. We spoke like this when we needed it, clasping onto a plural identity of we when we felt our singular selves cracking, melding our tastes and desires into a sticky syrup that glued us to each other. In the car, he asked me to steer with him. Together, he said, and I wrapped my hand around the leather wheel just as the drunk driver came barreling into him, severing the me from him, the we into tinier single pieces. Are you sure you're okay? Sheila asks me outside the bar. I nod. I saw you checking out that bartender, Ivy says, elbowing me. After rinsing my face, I'd return to the bar, smile glued over teeth, eager to see the bartender and confirm that he was not my dead husband, that he was, in fact, just a good-looking man. Maybe better looking than my husband, even, who wasn't even attractive by most standards. Sheila called him a dead-eyed cocker spaniel. But when you love someone, they become the most stunning thing in the world. Their features hold an impossible beauty you can't unsee, not for as long as you love them. No, the bartender wasn't my husband, but he looked exactly like him. And I know having your greatest wish granted is a dangerous thing. I don't want to come to this bar again, I say. Why? Ivy asks, concerned. Done, Sheila says. The bar is now dead to us. She spits on the concrete and turns on her heel. My spine tingles with each step I take, leaving my husband not husband behind. A few days later, it happens again. This time, he isn't tending bar. I'm at work when he walks in, carrying a water jug on his shoulders. My husband was not a working man. He got squeamish over blood and wore Ugg boots as slippers. The one time he chopped wood, he struck his toe. But here he is, easing through the room, waving at the receptionist while balancing a water jug on his bicep. My breath limps through my throat. Ivy, who works at the desk next to me, runs over with a tissue, her beautiful moon face rising into view. Your eyes are bleeding, she hisses. It's okay, I say. I take the tissue from her and hold it to my left eyeball, lean to the right to spot my man, but he's gone. Is this normal? Ivy asks. Yes, I say, grabbing a green Post-it from my desk and holding it to my eyeball. Are you sure? It's just a part of the procedure. This isn't a total lie. Dr. Gray hadn't mentioned bleeding as a side effect, but Optimized Optical was in its trial stages. Maybe bleeding was a part of the procedure. They just didn't know it yet. Not enough test subjects. When I step out of work, Sheila's car is idling in the rain. Of course, Ivy would tell her. Sheila rolls down the window. I'm fine, I say. Yeah, right, little Miss bleeds from her eyeballs, Sheila says. I'm taking you back to that clinic. For what? To make sure you're okay, dummy. You're like Mom. You never take care of yourself. Sheila and I don't usually talk about Mom, who lives 2 towns away with a nameless boyfriend and a colony of cats. I'm not sure she knows I was married or that I'm now a widow. The use of her name has become an anti-safe word. At the mention of her, I open the door and slide in, afraid I'll summon her into my life if I don't. At Optimized Optical, Dr. Gray points her flashlight into my pupils. I roll my eyes upward, sideways, down. Everything looks normal, she says. I roll my head toward Sheila. See? Normal? She's bleeding from her eyeballs, Sheila says. Dr. Gray says. Was there an inciting incident for your bleeding? I pretend to think. Not that I can think of, I say. There was something, Sheila says. Something with the bartender. She kept staring at the bartender. Maybe it's better if you wait outside, Dr. Gray tells Sheila. Sheila grabs her bag from under the chair and exits the office. Dr. Gray taps her lips. I wonder if she had the surgery, if I'm as beautiful to her as she is to me. Maybe she doesn't believe Sheila because she looks too perfect. It's hard to believe bad news that comes wrapped in a nice package. Bad news, I think, should be delivered by the ugly. That only seems fair. Behind Dr. Gray, the white walls are peppered with motivational posters. One features a giraffe and says, "If you think lovely thoughts, you will always look lovely." "Let's do a test," Dr. Gray says. From her desk, she pulls a stack of photographs and flips the first toward me. "Fox," I say. Flip. "Petunia." Flip. "Swan." Flip. "Boy." "Alive or dead?" Dr. Gray says. "Sorry? Is the boy alive or dead?" In the photograph, a schoolboy's smile pins his cherry-tinted cheeks. "Alive," I say. Dr. Gray's expression is inaccessible as she places the photograph down. She wears the same calm smile she had after the lens implantation. "And this?" She holds a photograph of an overturned bus, the metal of its sides glinting in the sunlight. Crawling out are four smiling people, but a part of me senses that I've seen this photograph before. Dr. Gray taps the photo. "What do you see?" she asks. "People exiting a bus," I say. "How do they look?" I squint at the photograph until my vision pulses. I can see a flame flickering toward a girl's outstretched arm, but then it's gone, replaced by a line of orange sunflowers. "How are they supposed to look? Just tell me what you see." "They're smiling," I say. Dr. Gray nods, tosses the photographs onto the desk. "I'm going to need you to come back for some more tests." After Sheila drops me off at home, I pour a glass of wine and stare at myself in the mirror. I peer into my gorgeous eyeballs. I peel off my clothes, watch the wave of my hips break when I move, watch the rolling constellations of freckles on my shoulders. Drink another glass of wine. Wonder if this was how my husband saw me. Wonder how it was that he knew how to love me. Wonder how it was so simple for him. Sheila texts me, asking me to call her. I set my phone to silent, dig through my closet. All black, even before the morning, except for one pink dress that squeezes my middle and washes out my skin. But when I put it on this time, I'm a vision. I walk through the mist to the bar I said I'd never return to, smiling at myself in the reflection of each oily puddle. Everything looks beautiful, but it feels like there's a dead fish rotting in my chest. I can almost smell it if I stand too still. The bartender looks most like my husband when he smiles at a college girl, shakes his finger to a song, wipes his wet hands on his jeans. He does not look like my husband when he dries a beer glass, tells a drunk man no, claps. He looks exactly like my husband when he is upset. "I need to ask you to leave," he says. "Sorry?" "It's my third beer. I feel fantastic." "You're making me uncomfortable," the bartender says. His voice sounds concerned, but he's smiling. "With your staring." "Am I staring?" I say. This could be flirting. He could be joking. Maybe if I look hard enough, this is how I'll be able to remember my husband instead of that day on the street, his glasses broken, the blood pooled beneath his cheek. "What is it?" he asks. "Is it the burn?" "A burn?" "The only scar I can make out is my husband's crescent moon through the eyebrow." "What the fuck is your problem?" he says. I shake my head. "I'm sorry," I say. "I had this surgery that makes me see things differently." I squint at his face. A blurry line across his cheek comes into view. "You're beautiful." "You're kind of sick, you know that?" He walks away. "Wait," I say. "I haven't paid." I slap a 20 on the bar. He'll come back, say he's joking. That's what my husband would do. But he doesn't do that. I slide off the bar stool and head to the door. Outside, the mist has cleared, leaving the streets in a mood. The sidewalks are tinted orange from the street lamps. No cars pass through. I stop at a statue of a goose, thinking about how geese are underappreciated for their beauty. It's always the swans that get the attention. "What is so great about a swan?" I ask the goose. "Who are you talking to?" I turn to see two smiling men standing behind me. Their hands are hidden in their sweatshirt pockets, and their faces are fucking beautiful in the street lamp, cast in tangerine hues. "I'm talking to this goose," I say, laughing. "Are you high?" one of them asks. "Nope." They glance at each other. Do you want to get high? The other asks. Sure, I say. The three of us walk half a block. They ask if I live close by, and I say I don't, just because they're strangers, even though I trust them. How could anyone not trust them? When people say not to trust strangers, what they really mean is don't trust strangers if they're not hot. Otherwise, a stranger is just a potential date. The taller man gestures toward an alley, and I wander ahead of them. When I turn, his hand is on my throat, pressing me back against the brick. The glow of the street lamp falls onto his face, and I see it for the first time. It's my husband's face. We've played this game before. His eyes worried that it was too much, that he was hurting me, and me afraid to tell him he should squeeze harder. You're pretty stupid for wandering out here by yourself, my husband says. This is exactly something he would say. I laugh. You think this is funny? The other man is clearing his throat behind my husband. When the light hits him, he's my husband's best friend, who wouldn't give a speech at the funeral because he knew he would cry. I'd felt angry then, but I can forgive him now under the street lamp. What's in your purse? My husband asks, groping around my side. Ty, grab her purse, he says. I hand my purse to Ty without looking away from my husband's face. He can take anything from me. If the person you love the most comes back from the dead, you give them anything and everything. At first you might resist, but it doesn't take long before you're ready to make a deal with the devil. My husband squeezes my throat. I lay my hand on top, squeezing harder, a little too tight, just how I like it. I press his other hand under my skirt. Touch me, I say. Tell me you're alive. You want me to touch you? My husband repeats. Please, I say. This is weird, Ty says. Aren't her eyes bleeding? My husband loosens his grip, then steps back, releasing me. My thigh burns from his hand's absence. No, I say, tugging at his shirt. Wait. Let's go, Ty says. Come on. He takes off running down the street, my purse tucked under his arm. My husband follows him. Wait, I shout, chasing after them. The beer and wine slow my legs, shove me into a stumble, but this is my husband. Mothers can lift cars to save babies. A widow should be able to sprint to catch her dead husband. I launch at his back, grab his ratty black sweater. Wait! My husband turns, his face in the moonlight. Can I remember it like this instead? Fuck off, he says, and his fist shoots my face into blackness, sending the taste of metal onto my tongue. When I blink back into the street, I'm on my hands and knees on the concrete, watching him run, too far for me to ever catch. You could have been raped, Sheila says, hands gripping the steering wheel. He wouldn't rape me, I respond, muffled by the towel over my nose. You've been acting weird since you got those lenses. I'm happy. You're bleeding from your eyes, Sheila says. You're chasing strange men in the dark. I said I'm fucking happy. You're just drunk. I stare at my beautiful sister, knowing she couldn't understand. When she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she didn't start a gratitude journal. She didn't do yoga or watch videos about the laws of attraction. She wrote her will. She said she forgave me for moving out and leaving her with Mom. Spread my ashes as far away from this place as you can, she said. She didn't even seem happy when she went into remission. Is it so bad that I enjoy seeing beauty in the world? There's always beauty in the world, Sheila says. You don't need fucking lenses to see it. That's rich coming from you. I like when the world's nice too, Sheila says. But you know what I like better? When the world's real. She pulls up in front of a hospital. Sheila, I say, lowering the towel from my nose. It's not broken. Go in anyway. Talk to a real doctor, she says. Tell them about the surgery. Dr. Gray is a real doctor. When I don't move, Sheila hits her hazards and walks around the car to open my door. She walks me into the emergency room like I'm a child, hands me the clipboard, then disappears. I sit in a plastic chair and wait for my name to be called. In the back room, a doctor shines a flashlight into my eyes. He asks me how I hurt my nose. I say my husband punched me. He asks me if I need to speak to a police officer, and I say, no, not really my husband, just someone who looks like my husband. Then I add, my husband is dead. The buzz is not wearing off as fast as I want it to. I had the optimized optical surgery on my eyes, I explain. Ah, he says, I must look very good to you. We laugh. Your pupils are enlarged, he says. But other than that, I don't see a problem. Is my nose broken? Just bruised. Have you had any other patients who had the surgery? I ask. No, but I've seen the ads at the bus stop. Did it hurt? In the waiting room, Sheila is cleaning the dirt from under her fingernails with a business card. She stands when she sees us. All good, the doctor says. Sheila narrows her eyes. That's not the answer she wanted. Did she tell you that she's hallucinating from those stupid lenses? I'm not hallucinating, I say. She's just being dramatic. The doctor studies for a moment, then looks at Sheila. As far as I can tell, she's aware that what she sees is skewed from the lenses in her eyes. I'm not sure I would actually consider that hallucinating. Doctor, Sheila says. She's putting herself in dangerous situations. She's unable to differentiate safety from danger. The doctor shrugs. I don't have much experience with eyes and even less experience with optimizing lenses. I'd go back to the clinic that inserted them and ask for help. The doctor waves at me from between the crack as the double doors close. In the car, I say, see, you're worried for nothing. Sheila stares through the windshield. Rain traces down the glass. I know about that bottle of pills beside your bed, she says. My throat feels dry. They help me sleep, I say. I know what you're keeping them for. The lights from the dashboard glow red across her cheeks. I'm not an idiot. So what am I keeping them for? I ask her. Sheila studies her knuckles on the steering wheel, the ridges of her veins. I get it. You lost somebody. It sucks, but you have to face it. I laugh bitterly. When you got cancer, you didn't try any harder than you had to. What business do you have telling me that I'm supposed to? Sheila runs her fingers between her knuckles and starts the car. When she pulls out onto the busy street, I say, this is me trying. When I get home, I check my nightstand. The pills are there, waiting in their yellow bottle. I think about the day after the funeral when I laid them out on the coffee table. There weren't so many of them back then, so I'd bought a bottle of vodka to wash them down with. Then Sheila knocked on the door. I put the pills back in the bottle and hid them in the nightstand. I've been adding to them since. Sheila insists on driving me to the clinic for the rest of the tests. I watch videos in a white room with a one-way mirror. Once I've watched a video, a voice comes over the speaker. What did you see? It asks. It was a boy's birthday party, I say. He received no presents, but everyone wished him well. Click goes the intercom. Another video plays. After 3 videos, Dr. Gray brings me into her office. What did I watch? I ask. You tell me, she says. Give me something, I say. She inhales slowly, then removes her heels, the left and right. Her feet smell sour. Her face is angelic. It was a funeral, she says. That's why there were no presents. The backs of my eyeballs burn and my eyelashes are wet. Dr. Gray hands me a tissue from across the desk. You might not be able to tell because of the lenses, she says, but I'm actually worried about you. I dab my eyes gently and look at the bloody tissue. Do you think we should remove them? Do you want to? She asks. I think of the world before the lenses, the peeling wallpaper of my living room, the horror of the creeping cockroaches, the gray skies, the concrete buildings, no sight of my husband anywhere. No, I say. I tell Sheila I'm considering having the lenses removed so that she'll stop asking. She hugs me. We meet Ivy in a new bar across town. At the shiny high top, Sheila proposes I move in with her. We can get a 2-bedroom, she says. You can move out of that shithole with the bad memories. I force a smile and nod. That's fantastic, Ivy says. I should have offered sooner, Sheila says. She stands to get another round. How are your eyes? Ivy asks. That was so weird when they started bleeding at work. They're much better, I say. I'm considering getting the lenses removed, though. They didn't work as well as you thought, Sheila says. They work, I say, spying a man over her shoulder. He has the same thick curls that catch the dim light of the bar, the slope of the nose emerging as he turns, the jawline pulsing when he grins. Why are you getting them removed? Ivy asks. You've seemed better lately. He turns and our gazes meet. He smiles as far as I can tell. He lifts a hand to wave. I'm happy, I tell Ivy. Then I don't understand. Sheila returns with the 3 beers, setting them on the table. She notices me staring and glances over her shoulder to see the man, hand caught in the air. Ew, she says. Those lenses have really removed your standards. Leave her alone, Ivy says. Isn't beauty in the eye of the beholder? What an eye to see that ogre as being hot, Sheila sips her beer. I smile at her, then stand. Where are you going? I'm giving him my number, I tell her. How about you wait until after you get those lenses removed? If you still want to go out with him, I'll hunt that troll down and give him your number. He can't be that bad, I say, moving to leave. Sheila grabs my arm and shakes her head. Ivy turns to look at the man, then back at us. He does look a little sketchy, Ivy says. She clears her throat. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Let's keep looking, huh? But my husband is staring at us from across the bar. My husband is waiting for me. When I turn away from him, my chest tightens. It's unbearable to not go to him when he's in the room, to not speak to him. Here, Sheila says, handing me a napkin. Wipe your eyes. I blot my eyes, drink the beer in front of me. Ivy tells Sheila about our new receptionist, who wears shirts for dresses and does cocaine in our office bathroom. I laugh at Ivy's jokes, sip Sheila's beer when mine is finished. When the bell chimes over the door, I glance up to see my husband leaving. I'm going to the bathroom, I tell Sheila and Ivy. I walk toward the bathroom in case Sheila is watching, then quickly slip into the street. Night snakes in between the quiet buildings. My husband's nowhere to be found. But down one block, back up to the right, the cold bites my bare ankles. Eventually, there are no more places to look. I shiver beneath the glowing streetlights. I look up at the stars. They pin the sky above all of us. Behind me, a man clears his throat. I've been waiting for you, he says. I don't care what's coming. You can't care when you get the thing you want the most. Thank you.
Kasia, that was incredible.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. Oh my gosh. Does anyone have any questions? We still have a few minutes so we can open it up to a Q&A for Kasia. If anybody has anything to ask.
This is
Oh my
my
gosh.
first introduction to your work. Yeah, absolutely outstanding. I mean, like,
Oh, thank you so much.
I was hooked. Like, I mean, whoa. Is this the style that you usually, or like the genre, kind of like this, like psychosis mystery-esque? Is this really what you do most of the time?
Yeah, I would say I kind of write across different genres, but I feel like this is a style that I feel like is really fitting me as I kind of am growing into myself as a writer. I really like this story that I wrote in particular.
Do you have any authors who you look to, who are inspiration for you?
Yeah, so Marie Helene Bertino was my mentor, so she's a big influence on me, and she writes a lot of speculative fiction. I love Claire V. Watkins a lot. I love Jenny Offel. Like the Department of Speculation is really great. Um, yeah, I'm thinking if there are any other big ones I've been reading recently. No, those are the main ones, I'd say.
What was that second one you said? I'm writing these down.
Oh, sure. So the second one was Claire V. Watkins, which Austin, I think, studied under, right? Yeah.
And Marie. Marie was my mentor too.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Claire, it's Claire, and then the second name is Vaye, and then the last name is Watkins. I've just had people be
Gotcha.
like, Claire Vay, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Claire Vay. But it's a very southern name. Anyway, sorry.
No,
And the
perfect.
first one, yeah, I don't know if you've ever read Marie's work, but she does like really cool. Yeah, so it's Marie Helene, another first E middle, and then Bertino, Bertino. Yeah, Austin's holding up Parakeet. It's a really fun speculative fiction novel.
But her latest one is Beautyland, that is like New York Times bestseller list for how many weeks? Like
Yeah, it's been doing so well.
Oh, incredible. It's so incredibly good. Yeah.
And she's an amazing teacher. So if she's ever like having workshops, I totally recommend her.
Whoa, thank you.
Yeah.
I felt like actually as you were reading Kasia, I could tell that you studied under Marie. There were just
Yeah.
little pieces of the voice that I was like, "Oh, Marie would like that line."
Yeah, she was definitely an influence. I think she got me like to feel more comfortable writing in kind of the uncanny and
Yes,
sort of blending the like reality with weird things happening.
yeah, and you do it really well.
Oh,
Really,
thank you.
really well. Yeah, I was completely hooked too the whole time. Didn't lose me for a single second. Uh, and you are funny on the page, which I think is very difficult to do. Sorry, I'm turning my head because I'm looking at you as if we're sitting in the same room
I
together.
know, same.
But you're funny on the page. It's so hard to be funny.
Oh,
And you
thank
had these
you.
notes that took us back up and like lightened it that were so perfectly placed and so well done. It was really magnificent. Yeah. Ah. Emily said in the chat, a spellbinding reading, very captivating, stayed with it from the beginning to the end. And Emily,
Oh,
again,
thank
is
you.
one of the people who marketed this reading. So
Oh,
we always
awesome.
love to hear.
Thank you, Emily.
Did anybody else have anything other than OMG, that was amazing? Because that's what I'm stuck on. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thanks so much.
It was truly incredible, Kasia. It was really awesome.
Thank you. Well, for anyone who wants to join next week, I'm doing some like speculative fiction prompts. So, Jasmine, if you're into it, please come.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
I will literally be on an Amtrak train and I will zoom in. So yes, I will.
Oh,
Oh, good.
I'll be
thank you
there.
so much.
That's what Rygen is all about. Whatever space in the world you are in, taking that time to write. I love that you will be doing that on an Amtrak. Yes. We'll finally be able to say, and we have participants traveling the world currently.
Oh,
Lynn,
Linda's asking,
yeah.
do I have a writing routine? Yeah, usually, so because I work full time, I try to wake up before work and write for like at least an hour every day before work. Um, and then on the weekends, I try to set aside like a more bigger chunk of time. It is really hard to like, now that I'm working on a novel, it is really hard to get into really writing when you only have like an hour or so in the mornings. But I feel like it's really important just kind of stay in touch with the work. What's my novel about? It is about a retreat on an island. So it kind of, I would say, encompasses a little bit of my um, opinion of positive thinking that you can see in my short story. But it takes place on an island that's kind of like a retreat, and then the person's kind of a cult leader. Um, so similar vibes, I'd say.
I actually have Linda's made me think of a question. Is there a time of day when you write better?
That's a great question. I feel like when I'm at writing residencies and I kind of get all the time in the world and I don't have to worry about like going to work, I really like the morning and then also like kind of that like dusk time that I feel like kind of like between like 7 to 9 is also a really great writing period. But when I'm working, it's kind of tired. It's like I'm tired by that time.
Mhm. How early do you get up to write?
Luckily my work doesn't start till like 10:30, so I can, yeah, so I don't have to get up too early. I'm not really a morning person. I mean, I like to be like quiet with my coffee and writing, and that's fine, but
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not a morning person either. And so many people talk about like,
yeah.
I get up at 4 in the morning so that I can write for an hour. And I'm like, nothing sounds worse to me. That
I
sounds
don't
like
love writing that much.
I like myself more than writing enough to let myself
Right.
like, okay, yeah, cool. I write most late at night, and so I'm always interested in
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, I like the world to turn itself off, and then I can focus.
I
And
totally get that.
but I also write in the mornings. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like when you have a job, it's when you have time.
Yeah. I feel like my opportune writing times, if I didn't have to work, would be like 9 to 12, then sort of like a little bit in the afternoon, and then like 7 to 9 at night.
Hmm. One day, one day.
One day, that's the dream.
Connie in the chat said, what made you take the step to start a novel?
Um, I think I like oftentimes when I'm writing short stories, it always feels like I don't have enough pages for what I want to tell. Um, and then I think because I studied writing, I got really used to writing short stories because of the way that like writing programs work. But I feel like I'm more of a novel person. Yeah, like once I get into a story, I just keep having ideas and it expands. It's definitely very hard though. Haven't finished it.
Yeah, I would say, Connie, that's a great question for anyone who's written a novel. What possessed you
Why?
to write a novel? Yeah, why would you do that to
Why are you
yourself?
torturing yourself?
Exactly. I just told someone earlier today, it took me 10 years to write my novel, to finish it.
Yeah.
And
It took
so
Marie 10 years to write her first novel.
it did? Oh my God, I'm
Yes.
so much better now. Okay, good. She was
Yes.
like 15 years younger than me, but that's okay. That's okay. We're getting there at our own pace.
Start as soon as possible because it'll take you a long time.
So do you feel like your ideas are sometimes too big for a short story?
Um, yeah, sometimes. I would say like with this one, I think one time I had a friend read it who was like, "Oh, this seems like a start of a novel," and I was like, "No, I just kind of got the feeling this was a short story."
Hmm.
So I do feel like I generally get a feeling if it's going to turn out to be shorter or if it's going to turn into a novel.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I would say just from like being in a program where we had to write short stories so often, I kind of just got in this certain way of thinking like it has to fit in this amount of pages. But now working on a novel, I think what has helped me a lot is like breaking it up into chapters. Like before, I just sort of just started writing, but not having like a little end in sight was really just getting me kind of stuck in it, and not really moving forward. But then when I was like, okay, like chapter one's going to end close to this event, or maybe it's going to be like 20 pages is my goal. That really helped to just have that structure.
That's interesting. I know that John Irving writes his novels by writing the end of the chapter first, and then he
Mm,
knows what he's writing toward, and he says that it helps propel him forward. And so he tries to write something that seems impossible at the point that he's written to, and then he has to write to that to end his next chapter. And so he's constantly making these like really impossible feeling turns happen because he challenges himself in that way. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'll have kind of like an idea of like, okay, this is something I want to happen at some point, and I'll just kind of like put like a post on like a board, like, okay, in the future, this is gonna happen. And then
Hmm.
like sometimes things will change, and I'll be like, never mind, that's not happening. But sometimes I'll be like, okay, now it's my job to try to get there.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like making a little connect the dots for yourself, I guess.
It's the red yarn on the wall of the the investigator trying to find the murder.
Right.
Did anybody else have anything for Kasia?
I do, but Linda had said in the chat, asked if you write poetry.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
so did
Um,
I. Thank you, Jasmine. Oh my God.
mhm. I do write some poetry. I don't feel like my poetry is very good, but so I don't really have much of it published, but I do feel like it's like a good exercise for prose writers too, to just kind of use more like poetic language or figurative language.
Mhm. I think Marie is a great example of that. And a great
Yeah.
example, I think your story showed this too, that like poetic language also doesn't have to be like long and winding and lyrical. She's good at really snappy, quick, beautiful little observations and little
Yeah.
sentences that are really crisp and tight and beautiful. And yeah, yeah.
And to kind of create things that are like a little bit more visceral. I feel like poetry is really good with that, and using that in your prose really helps.
I was wondering if you ever have any trouble choosing ideas or if it's that you have too many.
I would say it's more that I have too many. It's more I keep like a little document on my computer of just like anytime I have an idea for a short story or a novel, I just write it in there. So I have like a lot in there. Many that I have never touched, but like some of them, even years later, I'm like, I still really want to write that. Like I still kind of have that feeling.
Awesome.
Do you have a name for that?
For my document,
Uh-huh.
that one I think is just called Story Ideas. But I also keep like on January 1st of every year, I always start a document called Anything and then like the year. So it'll be like Anything 2024. And the reason is because I felt like I was too often was like, oh, this has to be a short story, or this has to be that. And instead of just kind of letting myself journal or free write. And
Mhm.
so I'll throughout the year, I'll like put poetry or short story ideas or just journaling in that. And just kind of have the freedom without it being like, I have to have this goal and I have to be so serious about it.
Wow, that's really cool. I would love to see like an art show of that, of like
Yeah.
year 2024 wrapped on the walls. You know what I mean? That would be so cool.
Yeah, it's always interesting to go back through. I'm like, oh, like I forgot that I wrote this and or that I had this idea.
Hmm. That started happening to me more as I'm aging as a writer, which is
Yeah.
concerning now because wow, that's a good sentence. When did I write that? Huh.
Yeah.
I should remember that probably.
Or it's funny when like somebody who read your work is like, oh, you remember this part? And I'm like, no, actually, I forgot. I forgot. I forgot
Mhm.
that I wrote that.
The important part is that it touches them, right?
Yeah.
Did anybody have anything else before we close it up? Thank you all so much. You've been a really wonderful audience. And Kasia, I just can't say enough how wonderful
Oh,
that was, how
thank you.
excited I am for next week.
Yay. I'm excited too. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was so nice to share my work with you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.